toxins in her body to prove that she had been poisoned. You know, they have poisons that create heart attack and pneumonia-like symptoms. She had been poisoned. You know, they have poisons that create heart attack and pneumonia-like symptoms. Then right after that, Al had a meeting, and I was survivors and the late.
I'm just watching and realizing a lot of things about the whole situation with Angie Stone, because I think personally that now that this is happening...
You won't believe what's happening now. Jaguar Wright is back at it again, dropping bombshells about the dark side of the industry. And this time, she's not alone. Angie Stone's own daughter, Diamond Stone, just stepped forward to back up Jaguar's shocking claims, and she's naming names. But hold up, what exactly is going on? Was Angie Stone's tragic death not an accident? And if it wasn't, who was behind it? Buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the mystery surrounding Angie Stone's death, the shady details that don't add up, and whether Jaguar Wright might actually be onto something. The crash happened just outside the Montgomery city limits in Alabama. Angie was traveling in a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, along with several others, when tragedy struck. Y'all, the way we found out about Angie Stone's passing, it was absolutely heartbreaking. Her daughter, Diamond Stone, who goes by Lady Diamond on Facebook, dropped the news in the most gut-wrenching way possible. No long explanation, no details, just 5 words: my mommy is gone. And then a flood of crying emojis. Listen, that alone was enough to send shockwaves through the music world. Because when someone posts like that, with nothing but pure pain behind their words, you know something tragic just went down. And then it got even worse. Not long after, Diamond and her Michael Archer released a joint statement. And yo, let me tell you, their words, they will break you. Never in a million years did we ever expect to get this horrible news. We are still trying to process and are completely heartbroken. But as fans grieved, something else was happening. You see, the driver of the Sprinter and 7 other passengers were rushed to Baptist Medical Center for treatment. But somehow, Angie Stone was the only one who didn't make it. Fishy, right? Now, let's pause right there. How does that happen? A van full of people, and out of everyone, it's Angie who doesn't survive. Officials claim they're still investigating the cause of the crash, but so far no real answers have been given. No details about what actually led to the accident. No explanation for why Angie was the only fatality, just silence. And that silence is what has people asking serious questions. The shock was turning into suspicion. People close to Angie started speaking out, and that's when things took a darker turn. For starters, Angie wasn't just another artist. She was a legend. She had seen the industry from the inside for decades. She knew things, and just before she died, she had been working on something big. She was scheduled to perform at an upcoming event, but behind the scenes, she was reportedly preparing to drop a tell-all about her experiences in the music industry. And now, that project may never see the light of day. Which brings us back to the big question. Was Angie's death really just a freak accident, or was she silenced before she could speak? Jaguar Wright seems to think it's the latter, and if you look at what she's been saying, she might not be the only one.
Were you around them?
Sure.
I would like to start for what everybody knows is Jay-Z.
What about him?
And when Angie passed away, Jaguar went off. In a heated Instagram live, she didn't hold back. Y'all really think that was just a crash? Angie was about to talk, and now, just like that, she's gone? Open your eyes. But what exactly was Angie Stone about to expose? Well, according to Jaguar Wright, Angie had receipts the kind that could shake the industry to its core. She knew things, dangerous things, and she was ready to speak. And this isn't the first time Jaguar Wright has sounded the alarm. If you followed her for a while, you know she's been calling out the industry for years, exposing the dark secrets that powerful people don't want out. She's spoken about how artists mysteriously pass away just when they're about to take control of their careers. She's pointed out these so-called accidents were looking way too similar, almost like a pattern nobody was supposed to notice. And let's be real, some of the things she's predicted have actually come true. Remember when she claimed there was something off about Whitney Houston's death? People called her crazy, but then details came out about how Whitney was trying to escape the control of industry elites before she passed.
And then the next thing you know, she's dead. Ray J was the last person to see her alive. He let the dealer in, but she was sober, right?
Or what about Michael Jackson? Jaguar warned that MJ had been fighting against the very people who profited from his downfall. And we all saw what happened there. So when Jaguar says Angie Stone's death doesn't sit right with her, is it really that far-fetched? Let's look at the facts. Angie was one of the only people in that crash who didn't survive. That alone raises questions. But then there's her unfinished tell-all project, her big surprise, as she called it. Something that, if released, could have exposed some of the biggest names in the industry. And then there's the timing. Just weeks before her death, some are starting to wonder if there were signs that went unnoticed. At the time, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but now people are looking back and questioning if there was more to the story. Was she trying to send a warning? And it only gets more unsettling from here. Angie's daughter, Diamond Stone, has been dropping subtle hints that her mother's death wasn't just some random accident. And in a shocking Instagram live, she doubled down on Jaguar Wright's claims. She knows something, but what exactly is she afraid to say? And here's another chilling piece to this puzzle. Just before she passed, Angie had a private meeting with someone, an old industry friend who had also tried to break free from the system. And now, that person is speaking out. A former producer who worked closely with Angie back in the day just revealed that she had confided in them about feeling unsafe. She told them she believed her phone was being tapped, that she noticed strange cars following her, that she felt like she was being watched. Sound familiar? It's the same pattern we've seen before. An artist starts asking too many questions, challenging the wrong people, and then suddenly they're gone. And if that's the case here, who wanted Angie Stone silenced? Who had something to lose if she spoke out? And how far would they go to keep the truth from coming out? Because if Jaguar Wright is right about this, then we need to be asking some serious questions. And the biggest one of all, was Angie Stone's death really an accident? Or was it something much, much darker? And now, here's where things start to raise some serious eyebrows. Right before her tragic passing, a video resurfaced. A video that now feels like a final warning. In it, Angie called out Universal Music Group, exposing how they had allegedly been pocketing her money for years. For the past 40 years, she put in the work to make hit after hit. But when she finally started questioning where her royalties were going, boom, the truth hit hard. Turns out, Universal Music had been collecting every single dime while she was left in the dark. And make no mistake, she was not okay with that. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with frustration. She had given decades to this industry, and now she was demanding answers.
Publishing, a lot of my royalties, my mechanicals, they have all pretty much been stolen.
She hinted that her earnings had been wrongfully taken, that she had been robbed not just financially, but of the legacy she had built. Even Tyler Perry couldn't stay silent. At Angie's funeral, he stood before a grieving crowd and let his frustration be known. "I'm angry at the way she was treated," he said, his voice thick with emotion. To think that this woman was in the business for all these years, all those songs, all that money that was owed to her. Where is it? It's wrong. Now, let's be real. If Tyler Perry is shocked, you know something shady went down. The man is one of the biggest names in Hollywood, with connections everywhere. And yet, even he was blindsided by how badly Angie was treated. So what exactly happened to the money she was owed? Why was an artist of her caliber struggling to get what was rightfully hers? And more importantly, who was keeping it from her? Soon after Angie shared the video, she was gone. Coincidence or something far more sinister? Now here's where things start getting real shady. Because tell me why Angie Stone isn't the only artist who seemed to be dealing with some serious industry drama before a sudden tragedy. Enter Al B. Sure, a whole R&B legend in his own right, who has also been out here hinting that something in this industry just ain't right. You'll remember when he randomly slipped into a coma, out of nowhere, like one day he was fine, and the next, boom, multi-organ failure, hooked up to machines, fighting for his life.
I was intubated, I was on a ventilator, had a tracheotomy. There was so many things going on to the point where they were considering
And when he finally woke up, he started spilling some cryptic tea. Now, he didn't come right out and say it, but he made it very clear he believes something was done to him. And guess what? He also mentioned Angie Stone's passing in one of his rants. Like, was he trying to say something without saying it? Because we know how this goes. These industry veterans, they see things, they know things. But the second they start talking too much, well, we've seen this play out way too many times before. Coincidence? Or is there something way darker at play here? Because if we've learned anything from history, it's that when people start talking, things start happening. So tell me, do you really believe this was just an accident? Or is something way darker happening behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is far from over.